Hello, how are you doing today? I hope you're having a wonderful day. Ever dream about owning a piece of land but have no idea where to start? You're not alone. Buying land is exciting. It's freedom, it's space, and it's possibility all rolled into one. But it can also be confusing if you've never done it before. So today we're breaking it all down, what to look for, what to avoid, how to buy land with confidence, even if it's your very first time. Before you ever start scrolling through listings, figure out why or what you're buying your land for. Are you planning to build a home, use it for recreation like hunting or camping, hold it as an investment to turn around and sell soon? The answer shapes every decision you make next. For example, if you want to build, you'll need utilities, you'll need a road to get access to the land, and find out what the zoning allows you to do for the building. If you're buying for an investment, location is going to make the difference. Location, 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 because you're going to want something that matters to somebody else. The clearer you are on your purpose, the easier it'll be to filter out bad options and focus on what truly fits your goal. Now, here's the real catch-22. Most of the time with land in our area, if there's utilities that you're planning to build with water, electric, and the road, you're going to have restrictions because probably other people have built there and they want to make sure the neighborhood stays in good condition. On the other hand, if you're looking for a place that has no restrictions and you can do whatever you want to do, most likely they're not going to have utilities because there aren't many other people in that area, so it's going to be more expensive to develop that land later if you are planning to build on it. Not all land is the same. There's raw land, which is untouched. I mean, no roads, no power, no water. And then there's improved land with utilities, water, electric, maybe even a structure in place. Raw land is going to be cheaper up front because it often costs more later to develop. So we're talking about like wooded land where you can barely walk through it. There's so much brush. So you have to decide how hands-on you're going to be. Are you going to want some raw land that you can actually go in and clear and develop and then be able to make a return on your investment? I'm sure there's plenty of buyers out there that enjoy creating something from nothing, but others want something with at least progress started so they've got a plan lined out and they can finish what's been started. So knowing the difference helps you compare apples to apples when you're looking at listings that you find online. That's why it's important to have those filters. Oftentimes you'll be able to search whether it has electric or water or what type of road, or restrictions is another popular search criteria. Location determines not just value but also usability. Always check how you can actually reach the property. Is it on a public, well-maintained road? That's the easiest and the best, obviously. Or is it landlocked, which means you have to go across someone else's property to get to it, usually called an easement. And the easement should be deeded if you're going to be going across someone else's property. Otherwise, they could just someday say, no, you can't come here anymore. Now, a piece of land with no legal access can cause endless headaches and even make it impossible to get financing or insurance if you later build on it. Now, while you're looking at maps, check the area also for amenities. How far are the grocery stores, hospitals, emergency services? Of course, remote land can sound peaceful until you realize it's an hour to the nearest gas station. And of course, if you're just using this for hunting land, maybe that doesn't matter so much to you. But you also want to think about future. Even if you're not going to sell it in the short term, you're probably going to sell it in the long term. Now, why am I talking about buying land? I'm Laura Clute, a licensed realtor in North Central Arkansas. So let me know in the comments below, what would you use your land for if you had the means to buy it right now? Now, when you find a property that looks interesting, you definitely want to dig into those details. The listing information should talk about zoning, how much land is there, how are you going to access it, whether there is that easement or a road, and what utilities available, if any. Things that are mentioned like off-grid, remote, can sound appealing, especially if you're looking for that hunting land, but they often mean there's no power or water. That's pretty much the definition of off-grid. But the more remote you get, the more likely it is that you're not going to have utilities. You do also want to check for red flags like sold as is. Those can be opportunities if you're able to develop it the way you want to, but that can also mean there are issues with the seller that they don't want to deal with. A good listing is going to have information that not only those details, but they're going to have pictures that give you an idea of the land. They should have an aerial view of an outline. Ideally, it could be just a reference point, maybe not necessarily a survey, but often you can find that on Google Earth yourself with an outline depending on the county. So that gives you an idea of how much is open, how much is wooded, or if it's all open or all wooded. Of course, a survey or a plat map is going to be beneficial as well, because it'll actually give you the dimensions of land and hopefully how many acreage, other than just being in the remarks, and it can actually give you something that proves that. And a topography map is really great too. It can show you how sloped the land is or how flat it is. So depending again on what you plan to do with the land, that's going to be more important to some people than others. Buying land isn't quite like buying a house. Traditional banks often won't finance raw land, especially if it doesn't have those access or the utilities. Now, some local banks or credit unions will do land loans, but they usually require higher down payments, sometimes 20 to 50%. What I've heard recently is 30%, so it's slightly more. But there are also banks who specialize in agricultural loans who might be more willing to loan on that land. Those are usually traditionally more towards farming, but they will land on raw land that you're going to use for hunting or if you plan to build on it. Now, if that sounds a little bit, don't worry, there are creative options. You can look for land that has owner financing. It's much easier to find owner financing land because there's less risks for them, because they don't usually have to worry about you damaging the land. Sure, you could take all the trees, that's a possibility, but usually it's a less risk to the seller. So just make sure you get everything in writing. If you do decide to go with owner financing, I do have a video about seller financing and things that you can do to protect yourself, but verify that the seller actually owns the land free and clear, and that you will have something recorded at the courthouse to prove that you have ownership in it as well. Once you found a property that you liked, and before you make an offer, you want to check that the details that you've been provided are true. So you want to check with the local county or city and see that the zoning is the same as they've advertised to do what you want to do with it. You'll also want to check flood maps and to make sure that there's no flooding in the property that you plan to buy, or minimal in the lower areas. If you're planning to use it for farming, you also make sure the soil quality is good, or that can also determine how difficult it is to build your house if the soil quality is bad. You'll also want to be aware of any developments nearby, like if there's going to be some chicken farms nearby, or maybe if there is a landfill nearby. Those are important as well. Now, you can talk to the county planning and zoning or the city, as well as the assessor's office. They can really help you figure out what those things are coming up, or as far as the zoning if it's not in the city records. You'll also want to confirm the property boundaries. Usually that's going to take a survey, a professional surveyor. They're really worth every dollar because it guarantees that you're buying what the advertising has shown in the MLS. It exactly shows you, not only in writing, you'll get a piece of paper that shows, like I said, the dimensions, as well as the acreage, any improvements on the property, like if there's a fence or utilities, maybe where the well is, but it also puts the stakes on the property in real life. So if you are going to go put the fence up, then you can see where you have to be inside those lines. It also protects you against any future boundary discrepancies through your title work. So a survey is a really good idea, whether you're buying large acreage or you're just getting a city lot. And if you're getting something that you probably maybe a bargain and that's been listed for several years, you might be looking at the county taking over the property because of unpaid taxes. I'd also did a video on this, and you'll want to be extra careful and do more due diligence to research that the title is clear, because you're probably not going to be able to do the options of like doing a survey and things like that as part of your due diligence, but you can actually at least make sure that there was only one person that had interest in the property and there wasn't a big mess. But you will get a really good deal if you buy land from the county. It just won't be as clear title as if you got a seller to hand you a general warranty deed that they've signed. So there are many different options when you're considering land as you research and get your final details in place. Once you've done your due diligence and you've decided you're ready to go ahead and make an offer, just like when purchasing a home, there can be negotiations involved. You can be asking not only for a reduction in price, but you could ask for the seller to pay for a survey, a perk test, even utility testings to make sure that the power and water actually work. You want to always include contingencies for inspection, title search, so that you know that the person conveying it to you has clear ownership. Now, if the seller pushes to skip any of those steps, that might be your red flag to walk away, because it kind of feels like they're trying to hide something. Of course, if you're negotiating on price, that would be understandable. Lots of sellers want to get what they want to get out of it. That's different than maybe not wanting to pay for a survey or a well test. But those are always options for you to pay for yourself. It's usually about the question of who's paying it, not so much that you can't get it. Now, sometimes people may be willing to buy land without clear titles, and it is just vacant land, but it is still an investment of your money. So I warn you to be careful, especially when we're talking about quitclaim deeds and quiet titles and limited warranty deeds and special warranty deeds. The best deeds you can get is a general warranty deed, and there's only one entity that owns it and conveys it to you. Buying land for the first time might feel overwhelming, but it's one of the most rewarding purchases you can make when you know what to look for and do your research. You have to, of course, have your goals so you can take time before signing anything. The right property can give you freedom, security, and maybe even a future dream home. So go and check out this video I recorded on buying land at a tax sale. It's a great next step for understanding all your options before you decide what to buy. Thanks for watching and have a blessed day.